So my first question for you is, why don't you tell me who you are?
Smario. And, was a cutman for many years here in Portland and worked for mostly Mike Morton's fighters and Richard Casanova's fighters, but I worked for everybody really. And after about 15, 16 years in boxing, I kind of switched and went to MMA, and I ended my career in MMA.
Okay, so how many years do you think you were involved in boxing or MMA combined?
Oh,
Going all the way back to whatever your first experiences were.
30 years.
Right.
40 years, yeah.
Okay. Did you start as a boxer?
Yeah, I was started as an amateur boxer like everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, loved it.
Cool.
Was a fanatic when I was 10 years old. I could have told you who every fighter was.
And what year was that?
In 1960.
1960.
Yeah,
So
1960.
yeah, there's quite some legendary fighters in 1960,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It was the end of the Marciano era,
Uh-huh.
beginning of the.
Other kids had pictures on the. I had
Must have been
pictures
Sonny Liston was champ then.
of Sonny Liston was
Was he champ or was
Floyd Patterson was the first one I can really recall.
it? Yeah, and then Liston
And then
took it from
Sonny.
Floyd.
Yeah,
And then of course Ali took it.
yeah.
From Sonny.
The rest is history. Yeah.
Okay, so my second question is, what is your favorite memory or one of your most memorable moments, if you had to pick one, in your boxing experiences?
I'd say being with Randy Couture when he won the light heavyweight championship. That was my most exciting in MMA.
Was that at UFC?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably pretty big.
In boxing, my most memorable event was we had a kid from Mazatlan, Mexico named Ricardo Medina, and he was just a good club fighter out of Mexico. And he came up here and fought a guy named, I think his name was Geraldo Martinez, who was number 2 in the world. And so we were to fight him in Santa Cruz, California.
Mm-hmm.
And he had just come, Martinez had just fought Orlando Canizales. Anyway, to make a long story short, it was very exciting because this whole building was filled with Mexican fans, you know, and they loved this Martinez. And Medina was basically a street kid that didn't know nothing. He didn't have a robe. I cut a towel and put it over his head. And this other guy, he came walking into the ring with dancers and a band and flags and you name it.
Wow.
And then when the fight started, it was like a domestic dog fighting a wild dog. And so this nobody that we were with pulled off this gigantic upset.
Wow.
And I think that had to be the most exciting I ever was.
Yeah.
I was so proud of that guy.
I believe it.
I was just proud to be involved, proud to know him.
Did you write a poem about that?
I did.
I've
yeah.
read it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
So tell me a little bit about your poetry.
Well, I've been writing poetry for 50 years, and I just had my 9th book published. And 2 of them were strictly about boxing. One called Notes of a Cornerman, and the other one is called Knuckle Sandwiches. And then one was about MMA, and that's called The Russian Journal. And that's about the time I went with Matt Linlin to fight Fedor Emelianenko in Russia.
You went to Russia for that fight?
Yeah,
Wow.
right in front of Putin. Putin was sitting right at ringside. You
Now who won that fight?
know, Fedor. You don't beat Fedor Emelianenko in front of Putin in
Yeah,
Russia. I'll
yeah.
tell you right now. Not in Get Out of Russia like.
Yeah, he might still be there.
Yeah.
Well, okay. My next question then is, what is the greatest challenge you faced in your life, pertaining to martial arts as a cornerman? Do you have any particularly challenging moments or overarching challenges you had to overcome?
Challenges I had to overcome? No, not. I don't think too many. To me, being a cutman is like a real interesting position because you're kind of you're in the inner circle of whichever fighter you're working with, in the gym or in the dressing room, or so I think that it's kind of a privileged position because you have to be trusted to be put in that position. If that fighter doesn't trust you, he isn't going to feel good about you, or he isn't going to have you in there.
So you feel honored by the opportunity?
Yeah, that people trust you.
Yeah.
Because their career is in your hands. You know, they're feeding their families, they're feeding their kids, and they're trusting you to keep them in that fight, and that's a lot of responsibility. I was good at it. I was real good at it. And I had a lot of fun doing it.
Did you have any particularly bloody nights?
Oh my, yes.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I think the bloodiest night I had was a guy, I can't remember his name, he was from Los Angeles, and he was fighting on an MMA card in Gresham that Matt Lindland promoted. And it was just a bloodbath. But I was able to stall the doctor enough to give me more time to keep pressure on that cut.
Right.
And that was kind of a little trick. I used to have ways to spend a little more time in there than I was supposed to.
Yeah, to show me
But
something.
I didn't care. I'm there for the fighter.
Yeah.
So if I can stick in there for 10 more seconds on that cut, that's for the fighter.
Right.
You know, again, he's feeding his family.
Yeah. Okay, and the last question to conclude things: what does boxing mean to you?
Boy, that's a tough question. Well, personally, boxing, I think, was the center of my life for many years, and to me, it's boxing is its own universe. You know, it has such a rich history, and that's one thing. It seems to me, young boxers, they don't know anything about boxing history, and they should. I don't know the history of it, the companionship, the friends you make. You know.
Yeah.
They always say, don't fall in love with your fighter. Sometimes you can't help it because you respect them.
Right.
And if you respect somebody, you're going to love them.
Yeah.
And I've had a few fighters that I fell in love with. Like, man, I just wanted them to win. Put everything into it, I could help them win. And when they didn't win, that was hard on me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you really care a lot about the sport.
You know, when Matt Lindland got knocked out a couple of times, that kind of was at the end for me because I thought, I'm partly responsible for this, and I love this guy.
Mm.
And I think at some point though, most people you get to a point where you just say, I think I'm going to just sit back and watch. I don't want to be part of it.
Yeah.
You know, sit back and enjoy it.
Do you still like to watch boxing?
Yeah, I still like to watch boxing. I don't like to watch amateur boxing too much. It bothers me to see little kids giving each other bloody noses.
Mm.
I have to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, as a father of a 10-year-old son who wants to box, I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just disturbs me a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, they can just look like I can remember when women started boxing. People looked at it kind of funny, like, huh?
Mm-hmm.
You got to be kidding me. They're absolutely as talented as men,
Yeah.
as far as the talent is concerned.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tom, I appreciate you giving me some time.
Okay.
Look forward to reading your new book. What's your new book called?
Papa's Lament.
Papa's Lament.
But if you be around, I'm going to bring some books down here and just give them away. My
Yeah,
boxing
I've got
books
Notes
and
of a
my other
Cornerman in
books.
there.
Okay.
I've read through it a couple